whatever it might be. I think I have the volume on. And so, first of all, as we begin, we get to. I think I have the volume on. This. How does this work? There we are. We should start with the bracha, which is Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu mitzotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And we have made our way. For those who have been in this space before, welcome back. And if not, we'll start out to the book of Exodus, which is to say, I arrived, as those trying to get money out of your pockets have informed you, 10 years ago. And we started studying Tanakh, starting with Tanakh with like the things that Jews never read. Like the book of Joshua, and then the book of Judges, did a year of Joshua and Judges, and then Samuel 1 for a year, and then Samuel 2 for a year, then Kings 1 for a year, then Kings 2 for a year, and then sort of like some of the other ones, narrative stories that we never quite, that again, people tend not to read, of Daniel and Ruth in depth, and Esther in depth, and things like this. Then to Torah, which is a year of Genesis. I think we did a year like getting just from Adam and Eve to Avram, to this week's Parsha, Lech Lecha. Then Avraham to Jacob, Jacob to Joseph, and now to Exodus, which means that the whole reason I chose these things is because they're all narrative. But by the end of Exodus, we're sort of out of narrative and into both law and the detail-y Torah things, which I've been like studiously avoiding for 10 years. And I feel like maybe by the time we'll get there, we'll be on year 11, or 12 maybe. So, but just so you know, like that's looming for me, but I've put it off now for more than a decade. But the idea is to look at this stuff in depth, to figure out what it's saying, why it's saying it, what it mean to them, what does it mean to us. Like those are the questions that I think you ask, that one should be asking of any Jewish text, whether it's the Siddur or a piece of Torah or whatever, or Talmud or rabbinics, whatever it might be. What is this saying? Meaning pause and be like, what is this in fact saying? Jews often, we have a habit of just like reading over things or davening it through. So, what is it saying? Why is it saying it? Meaning, like, what did it mean? Like, what's the point of somebody putting this on paper, on parchment, on stone? What did it mean to them, and what does it mean to me? Me here meaning you. So we should ask that of everything that goes on, and the goal is to hold multiple things at once. Which is to say, it's sacred text. That's part of why we're here. We're reading it in a room where we have our sacred text held in a special sanctified closet right at the far end of the room here. The reason you're in this room and not another is because you, for better for worse, have some level of skepticism in your mind saying, I don't know if I believe this was literally given by the mouth of God to the hand of Moses 300 years ago, and that exactly what flowed from Moses' pen was the exact emes, the exact truth, and that we have a precise copy of what Moses wrote 3,200 years ago in this closet over here. I know that because I've seen how you guys behave, and you don't act like you believe that this is the literal command from the master of the universe. Right. So it's not that, but it's also not AI slop. It's like so the question. So part of the question is like, what is it? How do we treat it, both in a sacred way and in a more a spirit of intellectual inquiry as well, both at once. both at once, that's the challenge. Not all, this is just a historical document that's no different from Aesop's fables, and not all, this is the literal command of the master of the universe, clearly communicated to us, right? It's somewhere, sort of hold both of those, but the trick is to hold both, right? Not just one, not just the other. Make sense? Questions? So this, we then, what else can one say about this by way of big general introduction? Exodus. Exodus is different. So it's the second book of the Torah, which is different than the first book of the Torah. The style is different. The feeling is different. The setting is different. The purpose might even be different. The main characters are different, or at least, the very least, presented differently. In the case of one of the characters who bridges both books. So things are different. Like if Genesis is a book of beginnings, of origins in a literal sense. Its purpose is to sort of like set the stage, like the first act of a play or the opening scenes of a movie, right? It's sort of setting out like certain ideas that are meant to guide you through. But the later acts of a play don't have to make those same introductory things, or the later parts of a movie or a book don't have to do that same introductory sense. It's a different thing, right? So I went, my other sacred quest in life. I went on Monday night to see the Springsteen movie. Yeah. Very exciting to me.
How was it?
It was good. They added in an unnecessary love interest, like sort of like for the sake of having a like attractive woman in the movie. I get, sort of like this is our standard Hollywood. You need a love interest, and that sort of it was like it was a little too stereotypical by the numbers in that sense. But otherwise, like the arc of the story is good. I read the book, which was better.
Isn't the guy who's in Bear?
Yeah.
He's the lead.
Yeah, Jeremy Allen White is plays Springsteen. Lots of shots of him from behind in a leather jacket on overcast days, walking along the Asbury Park boardwalk, like hunched over. Like lots of, if you like guys in leather jackets hunched over, walking down overcast streets, there's a lot of that. A lot of him staring out car windows at. And a lot of
songs came from those.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of close-ups of cigarettes being crushed out. Yeah.
Okay, well, that gets crossed the list.
Right. Anyway, but it begins. I say that in part because it begins like with a certain scene, like the flashback to Bruce's youth, right? Sort of his sitting in his room while his father abusively yells at his mother and threatens her and things like that, drunk, and the ominous sound of his father's feet like climbing the stairs like towards his room. And the idea of that is sort of like, oh, what drives Bruce is like his like this lack of love in his household growing up, and he sort of seeks that love from crowds of people, right? Like sort of like that there's like this is a thing, there's an introductory thing here. The introduction of the Torah does a similar thing, right? Sort of like God creates the world and has a certain idea of what God wants to do with it and enters into a covenant with a certain family, right? Most of the beginning parts of the Torah are this introduction of God's relationship with humanity, and then it begins to narrow in its focus. God's relationship with a certain family, and that family grows over the course of the book. And then, at the end of that book, the family has grown, but they are not in the land that God promises them at the beginning of the relationship, which is what we're going to read again this week in the Torah, what we read this morning for those who are here, like but rather they're in Egypt. And that is a change in setting. Whereas most of the book of Genesis takes place in the land of Canaan, book of Exodus will open in the land of Egypt. You know this, but like just sort of like it's a note the difference in setting. There's also a difference in the character, in the main character of God, right? If God is the main character of the book, the protagonist, God in Genesis, as we sort of would talk about, is like very immediate and personal a lot. God walks in the garden, and Adam figures that he can hide from God behind a bush in the garden, right? This is so the God that Adam knows is not some all-seeing, all-knowing, omniscient being in the heavens, because if there's an all-seeing, omniscient being in the heavens, I wouldn't hide behind a bush. That would make no sense, right? You wouldn't, I don't know, if somebody's tracing you through your phone, you wouldn't hide behind the bush, right? Because you know that whoever's tracing your phone can see you there, right? So like, if Adam thinks that God is this, God wouldn't. God's like in the garden. God smells Noah's sacrifice. If you read last week's parsha, God smells Noah's sacrifice and is moved by that. God gets angry at the generation of Noah. God regrets making, like, these are very human things. Then this week, God enters and moves, enters into a covenant with Abraham, moves between the pieces of the covenant. Next week, God, in the Torah portion, God will visit Abraham in Abraham's tent, and Abraham will mistake God for a man. Can't tell the difference between God and a man. Just a visitor visiting, right? So then later on in the Torah, God will dispose the jailer well towards Joseph, right? Like God is Joseph's uncle who's well connected in the state bureaucracy, right? Joseph's in prison, and what's the miracle? Well, God disposes the jailer well to him, just like it's just a favor. Like it's very human level stuff. In Exodus, God is not like that. God is not walking around the garden. God's not like doing little favors for you when you're in a jam. God is above and powerful. The miracles in Exodus aren't going to be, treat Joseph well when he's in, all right? Like they're bigger deals than that. So God has evolved, as it were, to like a different level of God-ing, or the portrayal of God is certainly different, right? You wouldn't have guessed from the beginning of the sort of Abraham getting a visit from God in his tent. You wouldn't guess that. Oh, but this is there'll be a mountain and there'll be seas splitting. Like that's not that. Where we're gonna go isn't apparent from where we've been. Pause. This all make sense? I know you guys know all this stuff, but I feel like framing it this way is sometimes helpful, sort of like thinking about the differences, right? All right, that's a 15-minute introduction-ish. Because it's a new year, though, we should introduce ourselves so that we know who each other are. So,
Is there going to be a test?
the tradition says yes, but I hope you're 120 before you undergo it. The test on whether or not you know the Torah is later on. No
names.
test on names,
Okay.
right? Yeah. Though the reason why we have to do this is because in English the name of the book is Exodus, going out, but in Hebrew the name is Shemot, names. So if the name of the book is names, we can at least say our names. Say your name, if you will. You can include, if you like, what brought you here, and say if you choose your favorite biblical character, or among biblical characters, what is one of them whom you like? Doesn't have to be your absolute favorite, but like if there's one that resonates with you, say that one. I'm Dan. I've been here 10 years, as I mentioned, and it's sort of it's an easy one. It'd be nice if I said something more obscure, but my favorite biblical character is Esther. I'm just an Esther fan, and And to pick somebody more obscure, I like Harvona in the same story, who's the assistant of the king, one of the eunuchs, one of the guards, who's just the guy who says at the climax of the story, the guy who says, you know, the gallows that Haman built for Mordecai, they're still standing in his yard. Like when the king's angry, he's just the guy who says, you know, and then that's when the king says, hang him on it, and the whole story ends. But I just like the idea of like, and Harvona gets a mention in the blessing after reading the Megillah, Zachor Latov. He's remembered for good because he's the guy who said, you know, you could just kill him. And it sort of like just plants the idea. I like him too. So,
But the real one in that story is Vashti.
right. Well, so you're volunteering to go next. Name how you got here and why you like Vashti.
Well, Vashti wouldn't take any crap from the king.
Baruch
His
Hashem.
fucking party.
Correct. Your name. Ed. Say my name is Ed.
Well, my grandmother's name was Esther,
Mm.
and she died when, this is my father's mother, and she died when my mother was pregnant with me. And so that's why I'm Edward, because you needed an E name.
Nice. Ed. Keep moving.
Okay, Myron, I'm with her.
Happy birthday.
My favorite character has got to be Boaz, for obvious reasons, because my grandson is Boaz. Boaz broke the rules. Thank God.
Right.
Thank God. Yeah. What else? That's enough. Today's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm Ron. Why I'm here, honestly, is because I'm not playing tennis this morning.
Why not?
Ron's here because he's not playing tennis this morning.
One.
And in general in life, I don't have favorite things, like favorite foods, favorite songs. So I'm going to say I don't have a favorite character.
So that's what I also don't have favorite foods or favorite songs, things like this. That's why I said among the ones who you resonate with to like get around that thing because like favorite color always feels to me like very childish. So like, so among those who you're like, oh, I like that one more than others, or that hits me more than others.
In some ways, Moses.
I got good news for you when we start the book of Exodus.
I'm his other half. I'm Rana, and I guess I'd say my Hebrew namesake was Ruth.
Nice.
I'm Phil, also named after my grandmother who passed away when my mother was pregnant with me. Her name is Fan. And what brought me here, trying to fill in what I didn't pay attention to in yeshiva.
That's a big idea.
Most of it.
Right.
Usually have their magazine and books.
Right.
And my favorite character, as I answered the last time we did this, was the talking mule.
Talking, okay, nice.
Nothing beats a talking mule.
Nothing, right, correct.
Francis?
No, that was the movie version.
He wouldn't know Francis. You wouldn't know Francis.
Yeah?
My name is Al.
Al.
I come here anytime that there's a class and I can make it.
Baruch Hashem.
My name, favorite character, I never thought of it, but I think Eliezer.
Nice.
Because I'm named for him, and probably a cousin or an uncle that I don't know about.
Right.
I'm Linda, I came with him. We finally got here after you were not being able to get here. I don't know, my favorite character. I was gonna take Esther, but I don't have a specific reason for feeling like that. I just feel like she was, she did her thing. She she saved everybody, so she was a good gal.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I just love learning, so, and it's a very welcoming space, so I appreciate that. One saying that I use a lot is, life is what happens while making other plans. So, I'd say my favorite character is Abraham, because he had one path, but God had other plans.
I thought your favorite character was going to be John Lennon after that, but keep going.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alan. I'm named after my grandfather, Abraham, but he's not my favorite character, even though he's Lynn's. My favorite character is David. I find him very fascinating because he was just very complex with his life and his story, and I guess there's a lot of information in the Torah about him, so it just kind of resonates with me, just the complexities of his behavior and his character.
Nice.
My name is Linda, and I've been here more than 10 years.
Correct.
I have to pick Ruth also, because she seems the least dysfunctional person.
Ruth probably is the least dysfunctional person in the Tanakh. That is a good point.
Some very positive things.
Yes, everyone else has more issues they need to work through. She seems to be.
Great-grandfather who was, I hear, a very scholarly person.
Nice.
Oh,
Let's go.
I'm Helene. I belong to him on his birthday and before that. I'm here well over 10 years.
Right.
I am named for my grandfather's two sisters who were lost in the Holocaust. And I have two favorites, Ruth and Joseph. Ruth,
Interesting pairing.
it is a very interesting pairing. I think Joseph had a very good set of, you should pardon the expression, on him. And he helped his brothers, but yet he didn't help his brothers. And Ruth, because she was a very smart woman, she took care of her mother-in-law, and she married Boaz.
Mm.
Oh. Nice. I'm Jen. I've definitely not been here 10 years. I'm not sure how long I've been here,
Right.
less than that. I would say I'm here because I like to learn. Agreed. And my favorite person would probably be Ruth also, my namesake. Somebody I think that is very admirable in not being afraid to do what is different and kind of striking out and going against the norm. And yeah, a lot of good things came out of that, it would seem. So
Some still
that's really
pending.
admirable.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Alan. I've been here more than 10 years. I think I'm named after my grandfather. And my favorite Bible is more, it's not character, it's a line. It's from Ezra, where Ezra tells the people to do something, I'm paraphrasing, and they go, yes, we'd love to do it, but it's raining.
Nice.
And I think that should be just inscribed in
Right.
over the desk of every bureaucrat.
Love to do it, but it's raining.
That's hilarious.
I'm Phyllis. I can't say it's my favorite character, but the one that resonates most with me is also Ruth. And for another reason, excuse me, many of you know that I have traditionally read from the book of Ruth. And I do it in memory of my mother, who also read from the book of Ruth. My mother died very, very young, and that's one of the ways that I remember her. And I come here because I love to learn, and Rabbi Dan is one of the best teachers that I have had the pleasure of listening to.
Amen.
You're good.
All right, I'm last. I'm Flora. I'm here because I retired and I can be here. And my favorite character is David, because he wasn't always good, and God still loved him and he was in his favor. And it just gives me a chance.
Nice. we've gone around everyone in the room, so apologies for making you all wait online. Do you want to say hello? We have Alice and Richard, Gail, and Ivy, and Bob, and Maida. So if you want to say hi, you may.
Hi, guys.
Happy birthday, Rich.
Oh, yeah, happy
Birthday, Ed.
birthday.
Alice and I have been members for 48 years.
Whoa.
And my favorite character is Avraham, because he started us on this fantastic voyage.
Well, I'll choose another biblical woman. I'll choose Miriam and hope to learn more about her in Exodus. Learned a little bit about her in Genesis.
She's merely a glint in people's eyes in Genesis. Nice, thank you.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Ivy Roberts. I'm a new member to the synagogue. I like to learn, so I'm here. And also Miriam is my favorite biblical character. I like the way she, behind the scenes, saving her baby brother, and then later she leads the women. It's just someone I think is great. So.
Welcome, Ivy.
Welcome. Brucha haba. Od? Others?
I could say hello. I have been studying with this temple for over 25 years, and I appreciate that I'm still invited. And but there's so many biblical characters that I have interest in. But I guess Abraham and David are the two that interest me the most.
Yes.
Yeah,
Gail.
that's Gail. Yeah.
My name is Gail Skokie.
Cool. Thank you. All right. If anyone wants to throw in, we can. Otherwise, we get to dive back in. So, enough schmote, on to schmote. Yeah, is your Haftarah? All right. And this, for Isla and Isla, the next time we read this will be her kid's B'nai Mitzvah. We, for the January 10.
It's coming.
The biblical books, by the way, named after, in English, they're named after like a theme of it. And in Hebrew, they're all named after the first significant word. Naming convention for books in Hebrew there are a few different ways of doing it, but the one that has really taken hold is naming after the first significant word in the book. So in Bereshit, it sort of has it matches up with the English in large part. Bereshit, sort of like in the beginning or when things began, and Genesis have similar feels to it. But in English, the name of this is Exodus, coming out of the Greek and in Hebrew it's Shmot, names, merely because that's the first significant Hebrew word in it. Meaning like you get rid of like the these and the thus and things like that. But like the first thing is that, and the same thing as you go on. Leviticus is about the Levitical tribes in English, but in Hebrew it's Vayikra, and God called out, which is the first word of it, or Numbers in English, because there are censuses over the course of the book of Numbers. In Hebrew, it's Bamidbar, in the wilderness, in the desert. And Devarim, words, the words of Moses that begin, that's the first word, Ele Devarim, and in English, Deuteronomy, which is the second telling of the law, right? So because Deuteronomy will recapitulate many of the things that came before. So here, Shmot, or names, because that's where it begins. A quick thing here also, maybe just also beregel echad, standing on one foot, the idea of what's going on. Over the course of these books, happens more in Genesis, but also in Exodus. Like, people will often ask things like, did it happen? Is it real? And we'll talk about that along the way, though I think in general, people should know that what you think of as history is something unique to your culture, my culture, our culture, and hasn't been around for what we would say is all of history. We, in the West, have a certain conception of what a history book is or what history consists of, and that is something that is culturally specific. That is not some capital T truth that existed throughout all time. The first person employed in a university as a historian was given his position by the University of Berlin in 1810. In 1810, meaning before this point, the idea of history is largely different from what you and I think of as history. So when you say, is it history, you're taking a modern concept and retrojecting it back. Despite the fact that there are people like Herodotus and Thucydides and Origen, all sorts of different people who we say wrote histories, what they were writing wouldn't be published as a history today. It wouldn't pass muster. They're doing something slightly different. And Exodus is worth knowing, is more in that ancient category of history. Nobody, for instance, in the book of Exodus, you will find them telling a story, and it will say, essentially, a version of, and so, you should, on the first full moon of the spring, slaughter a sheep, share it with your family, and eat matzah for a week. If you're reading a history book that did something like this, if you're reading a biography of George Washington, that then said, and so, because of this, you should celebrate the 4th of July and have fireworks and a barbecue and a reading of the Declaration of Independence, you'd be like, this isn't history. Why is this person telling me what to do? The history book's job is to tell me what happened, not to be prescriptive in telling me what to do. So it's a different thing, right? It's a different thing. It is where Saul Berman, a professor at I think Yeshiva University, at Bar-Ilan in Israel, uses is exhortative. It is more akin to the halftime speech. People want the Torah or the Bible to be the story of the game in the next morning's newspaper. Given the fact that you've been a member for 48 years, I will use the metaphor of a newspaper, which I would not use with the Nitzanim kids that I spoke to yesterday. But for the sake of the discussion, you expect if you want to read a story of the game in the newspaper, it will follow a certain formula and in a certain style. And that formula and style will be different from the halftime speech that the coach gave to the players in the locker room at halftime. At halftime, the halftime speech is going to be based in what happened in the first half, but really the goal is something different. The goal is not to give them a history of what happened in the first half. The goal of the halftime speech is to motivate them to build on something that happened in the first half, to let them know what happened, to help them analyze what happened, and to get them to do something, maybe something different, maybe something the same, in the second half. It is based in truth, but its goal is something different. I think the book of Exodus, the Tanakh in general, is a little closer to the halftime speech than it is to the account in the next morning's newspaper. It's meant to be based in a certain thing that happened, but it's not looking to tell you literally the thing that happened. It's meant to get you to do something, to inspire you to action, like a political speech or the halftime speech or maybe a keynote speaker at a convention. Might be like, it's supposed to get you a certain thing, and it's not that it's false or that it's fiction. It's just using things that happen maybe in a different way and to a different end. Ed.
But I mean, isn't the synonym for the Torah the law?
Among other things, it's called the law.
Yeah.
So I read the book of Genesis with you over the last 3 years. There were virtually no laws.
Right.
So Genesis famously has don't eat the sciatic nerve which is why Ashkenazim can eat filet mignon. Circumcise your sons on the 8th day, and be fruitful and multiply. So Not many laws. Law is sort of like a nickname. I certainly sort of like don't think of it that way, but yeah, but that is one of the things. So that, but the law already, you're thinking of something that it's not a law code. If it were law code, what do I care about what Jacob said to Rachel? If I'm reading the United States law code, I expect nothing about what George said to Martha, or what Thomas said to Sally, right? Like that's sort of a different, that's different genre. It's a different genre, right, of things, right? So it's important, like sort of what Donald said to Melania, for that matter. Like that's important. I think it's worth knowing in a certain sense. It could be relevant to like what's going on, but that's not what I expect in the law code, right? So it's clearly something different because the law code wouldn't include all these sort of like little details. So it's something different. Once you think of it as a halftime speech, it all just sort of works better. So you don't have, again, like you don't have to ask, is it true, is it false, or things like that. Like if it's a halftime speech, it's just something different. All right. Enough details. Now we get to dive in. Question, she'elot. I'm happy to be interrupted. I tend to flip between books. As you might know, I often use Robert Alter's translation of the Torah. I think his 5 Books of Moses is great. I also use Richard Elliott Friedman's commentary on the Torah, which is also great. The JPS, Jewish Publication Society, which is what you'll find in the Eitz Chaim, is nice. It's a little, the JPS is a little too, feels like it was done by a committee. It's a little, the language is a little inert sometimes for me. It's not that it's inaccurate. King James is nice, but like, it's a little Elizabethan. Art Scroll, which is what Alan has, like sort of always translates according to Rashi, which is a legitimate way of doing it. It's a little different. Everett Fox has a nice translation. There are different translations to use, and I think I sometimes use Encino. Like there's lots of different ones out there. You can choose them. All right. Exodus, Shemot, chapter 1, verse 1. We get to at last start. Eila, Shemot b'nei Yisrael, ha'ba'im mitzrayma, et Yaakov ishu ve'tovahu. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. With Jacob, each in his household had come. So that's where we get the name, Eila Shemot. This is a recapitulation. This is very much a transition sentence, right? It shows that the author, who's the author? Hard to say. The Torah doesn't come, I mean, your edition might come with an introduction, but the Torah itself, the one that's in the ark behind me, doesn't come with an introduction or an about the author blurb. Right? It doesn't say, it just assumes. So who's the anonymous narrator of the Torah? There's an anonymous narrator. We don't know, right? You can, by tradition, the anonymous narrator is with an uppercase A, uppercase N, right? It is, in some sense, the tradition is that the narrator is God, Moses.
Moses writes it down.
Moses writes it down, but we're writing something that is happening, before the time of Moses. And after the time of Moses. So there's a tradition, but again, you may have been in shul, and on Saturday morning, we lift this same Torah and we say, Vizot HaTorah, and this is Torah, Asher Sam Moshe, that Moses placed, Lifnei V'nei Yisrael, before the children of Israel, Al Pi Adonai, B'yad Moshe, Al Pi Adonai, from the mouth of God, B'yad Moshe, to the hand of Moses. It's not, those, by the way, those are 2 separate verses from the Torah spliced together. There's no line in the Torah that says that. It's take Zot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe. It's like one verse, I think from Numbers, and Lifnei V'nei Yisrael B'yad Moshe is from Deuteronomy. Like they're from like vastly different parts of the Torah spliced together. This isn't a method that was invented with Canadian anti-tariff ads, like where you take like one thing and you sort of splice it together in different order. Like this is like the Siddur does this, right? The Siddur does this all the time, but that's like the most blatant, where it creates this sense that that's a Torah line, but it's not, or not like that. It's two lines spliced together. But you say it, so we say, oh, this is the mouth of God to the hand of Moses. That's because the editors of the Siddur want you to think that. But the Torah never makes that claim for itself. The Torah, curiously, never will say that it is written by Moses or that it's from the hand of God. Deuteronomy will say that, but Deuteronomy seems to be talking about Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, when it says Torah, seems to mean Deuteronomy and not the 5 books, as it were. So who's this anonymous narrator? We don't know. You can say it's God, you can say it's Moses, you can say it's the redactor, but that's what's going on. We have an anonymous narrator who's linking this story to the book of Genesis. There's a conscious thing that this is different. We were already told who came to Egypt with Jacob, but it assumes you've read the book of Genesis. You're familiar with that there is a family of a guy named Jacob, who notice isn't being called Israel, who were somewhere else and now they're in Egypt, right? Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, who came with Yaakov. So Israel and Yaakov, different names for the same guy, but here sort of used slightly differently, who came to Mitzrayim with Yaakov. A man and his household came. Which means that there was, we're going to list the heads of household, but not everyone, but not like the wives and children. They're not going to be listed. Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, first 4, the first 4 sons of Leah, Yisachar, Zevulun, the 2 other later sons of Leah. We're going in, so all of Leah's sons are listed first, not birth order, but maternal order. All of Leah's sons, and then Uvinyamin, Rachel's son. Now Rachel's concubine's sons, Dan and Naphtali, and then Leah's concubine, Leah's maidservants, Jacob's other concubine's sons, Gad v'Asher. So Bilhah and Zilpah's sons. So they're given in an order of like maternal ranking as it is, rather than in birth order. So names them all. Those are the names. V'ki kol nefesh yotzei Yerach Yaakov shivim nefesh v'Yosef haya b'Mitzrayim. And all the persons, the word for a person here is nefesh. It's like somebody. It's like a life breath or a life. Doesn't usually, we use nefesh often for like soul or something like that. Not really in the Bible so much. There's not much of a concept of a soul, like we sometimes think of a soul as separate from the body. Less so in the Bible. That's sort of a later idea. Nefesh usually will mean like living being or something with life breath in it. So those are the all of the nefeshot that came from Yaakov's thigh, which is a very sort of earthy way of putting it. Yaakov's thigh is, the Torah is slightly cleanly here. It's just sort of like his, The thigh is in the neighborhood of what's being referred to here, right? Like, so they don't want to use, they want to say came from Jacob, but they're not going to use the actual word for the actual body part that actually produced the children. Thigh is sort of is what they use.
Here they call it
Issue.
Came out of his loins.
Loins. The loins. This is so loins. Issue is a way of cleaning it up a little bit because it's less, because there's no body part there. Loins is a good way of putting it now because like no one knows what the hell a loin is.
I gird my loins.
Right, yeah, if somebody's girding their loin, right, clear out
Springing from the loin.
springing from the loins. Yeah, so this is, so Robert Alter here, it says like, the Hebrew is literally thigh, which is a substitute semi-polite word for what they're really talking about, which is the same word that's used in Abraham's story that we'll read in 2 weeks, that when we get to Chayei Sarah, when Abraham, some people's favorite biblical character, says to Eliezer, Alan's favorite biblical character, swear to me, you have to swear an oath to me, and swear by placing your hands under my thigh. There, thigh doesn't mean thigh. Thigh means, same thing it means here, testicles.
Why did the Torah clean it up?
Lashon Naki, because normally, the same reason it took me 5 minutes to get to the word testicles. Because you get this reaction when you do. So I will say this, we give, as you know, we give a Eitz Chaim to all the Bnei Mitzvah kids. Occasionally it gets returned to us, unread. Usually they just like hold it, turn it over like it's a gun that's gonna go off. Like wondering what's gonna happen with it. Once every like 3 years, somebody's like, I get my own? This is incredible. So Evie was this kid. Our next bat mitzvah, Chayei Sarah, and this week, I don't think I'm talking out of school here, this week comes in as the first bat mitzvah kid in a couple of years who sat down and read her parsha, and it's Chayei Sarah. She comes in and she literally says, what does it mean here that Abraham says, put your hand under my thigh? Literally, she sits down and says this. It's Tuesday. And I'm always sort of like, in those moments, I like want to like pull the parent in the room so I'm not having this discussion like alone with like a 12-year-old girl in an office. Times being what they are. But he's not around. I'm like, all right, like leave it to be you to like ask me this question. And like of all the things in the parsha, she picks this specific thing. There's so much. Chayei Sarah is a long parsha. She literally picks, what does it mean when it says put your hand under my thigh? But she already read the commentary, which says what it is. So I started explaining, and that instant sort of thing, like there's actually a thing here, like where we, the word, if somebody, now if you go to court and you swear on something, you swear on a Bible, right? And the guys in the Bible didn't have a Bible, right, to swear on. It's not like Spaceballs, like they don't have a Bible to swear on, so they swore on, like, you swear on the Bible because this is something like that I think my life depends on. And so they swore on this. And we know that they swore on this and that this isn't unique to biblical society, because if you go and are a witness in court, what you say in court under oath is your testimony, which comes from the same word, same shoresh, same root as testicles, right? So this is the same thing going on. So anyway, so yeah, that does come up. That is here. Same word comes from Jacob. Comes from his loins. Comes from his. So it says thigh because it doesn't want everyone to start giggling. It's just polite.
Truly learned something today.
Right. Not what you expected to learn, but you learned. Came from Jacob's thigh, which again, sort of like this is part of it. There's a feeling that this is a family, right? Like why is that important? This is a family. This is not a anything else other than a family, I guess maybe is the important point. Like, again, like this is part of like when we think of Jews as a group in America, Jews are always defined as a religion, right? But this isn't that. Like, because we like think of Muslims or Christians like going out and trying to get people into the faith. This is not a faith group as such. This is a family. It will turn into something slightly different, or it will maybe expand from that. But the important that like part of why is it important for them to say get so detailed and oh no, these are this is Jacob's biological children, is because it's important that it's a family. 70 persons. 70. Yep.
I have a question with the 70 persons.
Yes.
12 sons, okay. That leaves 58.
11, because one's already in Egypt, but go on.
Okay, but 58, 59 people that are supposed to come from his loins, is that grandchildren?
Wives, grandchildren, yep. Yeah. So the crew coming into Egypt are 70. So, and if you look in Genesis, if you refer back, like in Genesis 46:20, will give you gives you the names of all of them, more or less, that you can count up to get there. There are, if you do all the counting there, it gets you to 69. So this is. Do you know where I'm going with this? Everyone giggles at everything. So connected. Yocheved is like conceived, like as they like enter the gates of Egypt, right? Like that's families, grandchildren. 70. You can take it literally, or you can say if it says 70, this is like a big round number that is symbolic. 7
is a big number.
Big, right? Like if you see things like connected with 7 and things like that, like this can be a formulaic number. The Tanakh will often use what we call formulaic numbers. Again, like if you say, it's freezing outside today. If somebody says to you it's freezing outside today, you don't it's above 32 degrees. What are you talking about? Like that's not what they mean by that. They mean it's cold. If Emmet comes to you and says, my math teacher is 100 years old, it doesn't mean that the math teacher was born in 1925. He means she's old. She's 30, right?
Jacob had daughters also, probably.
One daughter, right? Well, one who's named. Yeah, we know Dinah.
But other than her, there could be multiples.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So, and some of them we don't know.
The 70 is not just men, is it?
No, definitely not. No, 70 souls. So that's wives, grandchildren.
It does say here, though, aside from the wives of Jacob's sons.
The person come out were 70. Wait,
47 in Genesis.
All right, so let's refer back to Genesis. You're looking at.
All the persons belonging to Jacob who came to Egypt, his own issue, aside from the wives of Jacob's sons.
All right. So if you look at this, looking at chapter 46 in Genesis, 6, 7, they all came to Canaan. They came there, Mitzrayim, Yaakov, Kol Zaro, Ito, Jacob, and all his seed with them. That's another, by the way, frequently in Hebrew, referred to Zaro, his seed, which again is a very earthy term to use. It's the same word for planting a seed in the ground, and it's the same word for semen, and that's the same word for progeny. He brought his sons and grandsons with him, his daughters and his granddaughters, daughters plural, and his granddaughters, and all his seed with him to Egypt. Daughters, by the way, can be used to mean biological daughters, and can be used to be daughters-in-law. Right, the same way a lot of people cited Ruth as their favorite character. And now we will say, "No, my daughters, go back to your homes, go back to your mothers." She says, so Naomi refers to her daughters-in-law as her daughters. It's just a term of affection. So it could be here as well. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt, Jacob and his sons. Jacob's firstborn was Reuben. Reuben's sons were Hanoch and Palu and Hezron and Carmi, and Simon's sons were Jemuel and Jamin and Ol and Yachin and Saul, son of a Canaanite woman. Levi's son, and it goes through all those. So your point is...
maybe I'm misreading it. when it says aside from the wives, does it mean the wives are counted or not counted? I'm taking it that it means not counted. Am I reading it incorrectly?
All the persons who came to Egypt, who came out of the side where Jacob's sons were. Yeah, you're right. No, you're correct. Like this is verse 26 you're looking at. All the persons, v'kol nefesh, all the persons, kol Yaakov Mitzrayim, who came to Jacob with Egypt, Yetzei v'yachu milvad nashe, right, aside from the wives of the sons of Jacob, all those nefesh were all those were 66. And Joseph's sons who were born to him in Egypt were 2 persons. All the persons of Joseph's house who came to Egypt were 70. So here, that counting is counting Joseph and his sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. Notice and then I suppose you include Jacob in that, and that gets you to the 70. Here, notice it's a slightly different formulation. Children of Israel who came to Egypt were 70, and Joseph had already been in Egypt. So they might be counting differently. Could just be a formulaic number. So that's the link to Genesis. And now our link to Genesis is going to be over. Like in the sequel to a movie, like they sort of like will set you up with a link to the earlier installment or whatever. And now, you get that? It says, and because verse 6, Vayamot Yosef v'kol achav v'kol ador ahu. And Joseph and all of his brothers and all of that generation died. So it's over. Like all the characters you knew and loved from the earlier episodes, they're off the scene now. And we're going to start something new. So it's a link to what came before, but we're done with that link now. That's just a transition. So for those of you who hit the skip recap button, you start here.
I love the Hebrew for the last line in 7, where it says, ma'od.
Yes.
I love to be very, very.
Very, very, very much. Like so, this is this is the that's all just the introduction, getting away from Genesis and letting you know there are these people. It's the same people, and we know that Joseph. The last scene of Genesis is the death of Joseph, who's 110, and his brothers are still alive, even though he's young. The implication is so we know that it is some time that passes for that whole generation to die out, right? And then we're going to start some centuries later, it seems, with a new story now in Egypt. But it's just setting the stage. How do they get to Egypt? All that stuff that happened before.
Always with Joseph, though, I feel like he gets a short shrift because it's Ephraim and Manasseh.
Right. Yeah. Joseph does not get his own tribe. Yeah. So either gets short shrift because there's no tribe of Joseph, or he gets double because he gets 2 tribes that comes out of his loins.
Joseph's tribe, there would only be 11. We have a problem.
Correct. Well, if it's just Joseph's tribe, then you count the tribe of Levi, and you have 12. When you count Ephraim and Manasseh, you have 13, and you don't count Levi.
What happened to Levi?
Doesn't have any land. Doesn't. This. We'll get to that later on in the Torah. All right. Ad Khan, we get to stop there. I don't know how I stop the recording from happening.